Hey Dulles family, my name is Andrew. I am the student pastor here. Whether it's your first time here, your 50th time here, we're glad you're here. Welcome. Okay, I've got quite a few announcements today, so let's get right into it. Next week, October 10th, we are going to be having church at the winery. Now, this is going to be a communion gathering, and we are not going to be at Light Ridge High School. We will be at 50 West Winery, same time, 10 a.m. And it's gonna be outside, so bring a blanket, a chair, something comfy to sit on. And if you want to, bring lunch, because afterwards we'll be hanging out, the tasting room will be open, and we'll just be having a good time with each other. Now, we believe that this is a pretty unique gathering for a church, so if you have a friend who's kind of apprehensive about church or maybe has never been to church, this will probably be a really good gathering for you to invite them to. Okay, so next week we are not at Light Ridge, we are at 50 West Winery for church at the winery. That same day, October 10th, later that night, there will be wine and cheese night at Brad and Amy's house. It's gonna be from 5 to 6:30. Now, wine and cheese night is just a night that Brad and Amy host for people who wanna connect, who wanna learn more about the church, or who just wanna meet them. It's super casual. Their address and details for the gathering will be in the Connect tab on our app. All right, the week after that is another fun Sunday. October 17th is Marvel Sunday, and we're gonna be having an interactive and meaningful conversation about power. Now, this is gonna be a family gathering, which means parents, kids will be inside the auditorium with us. There will be no Dulles kids. And to keep in theme with that Sunday, we want you to come dressed up in your favorite Marvel apparel, whether that be a costume, a hat, a t-shirt, whatever it is, we want to see you rep your favorite Marvel character. October 17th, Marvel Sunday, you don't want to miss that. At the end of the month, the Washington West Film Festival is going to be happening at the end of this month. Now, the film festival was started by our pastor Brad as a fun, creative, and inspiring way to help children who were struggling with illnesses, with hunger, or with educational challenges. This is gonna be my first film festival, maybe it's yours. Let's join together and experience it together. I'm super excited for it. The details for the film festival can be found at the website below. All right, before we start this last announcement, I want you to pull your phone out and go to the Dulles app. If you don't have the app downloaded, don't worry about it. Download it later. Just remember what I'm telling you right now. All right, so once you've opened the app, scroll down to the bottom where you see the Connect tab. Hit that, and once you hit that, you should see Join a Team. Now, teams are what make our church run, what make our church happen. And we have a variety of teams that help to contribute to do this. A team that has a big need for this upcoming fall is the production team. The production team is in charge of the lights, the sound, the slides. You're able to watch me right now because of the production team. So if you have an expertise or you have an interest in any of those things, anything production-wise, sign up for the production team. If production isn't your thing, don't worry, look through the list of the other teams. We believe that everybody has a place here in this church and there's a team for everyone. All right, Dulles family, we made it to the end of the announcements. I love that you're here, I'm thankful that you're here, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day.
Hey Dulles family, so before this very, very important message that I've been planning for a while, I have a pretty significant update for you. So one of our dear friends and members here at Dulles, Lou Pizzoli, is in the middle of a major health crisis. A lot of you've probably heard this here in the last 24 hours. For those who haven't, even those of you out of state who maybe don't know Lou, Kim and Lou met Amy through the preschool Amy owns and leads about 4 years ago. And 3 years ago, they took a risk and walked into our church, and they've been with us ever since. And Lou has since become a tech guru to us in many ways, just like Jeff and others are. Lou really helped us get online with our plan for audio at Light Ridge High School. Kim last year began co-leading Dulles Kids, And then late this spring, going into summer, Kim became our Dulles Kids director. So I'm recording this online message on Friday morning. So this is October 1st. You'll be seeing this on Sunday, October 3rd. Yesterday morning, Kim found Lou with what had been, the doctors are calling a major stroke. He was medevaced to Fairfax Hospital. I was with Kim much of the day yesterday at the hospital, and after many doctors' updates and the ICU team update, we've been waiting for Lou to wake up, and we're hopeful that one step at a time leads to Lou gaining his speech back. Before surgery, I was actually able to pray with him right before his surgery yesterday. He recognized me. He was not able to speak. And so we're watching every hour, every couple hours now for movements of progress and steps of progress. So we're going to keep you updated. This is what we're asking for everyone. We're asking you to help the Pizzoli family in a number of ways. One is we're providing dinners for them for the foreseeable future. And this is coming by way of gift cards, restaurant gift cards or Visa gift cards. And if you're out of the area, if you're out of state and you want to make a contribution, just put Pizzoli's or Kim and Lou. The spellings don't matter. We'll know what you mean. We'll make sure all of it goes to dinners for the Pizzoli family for Lou and Kim and LJ. A second need is just some chores and help around the house. We're looking for a team of people who would be willing to help mow the yard. They have a mower, of course, and some house cleaning, so some logistics for them. And then the third area is for people to step up and really help rotate at least once a month in filling in for Kim at Dulles Kids on Sunday mornings. We've already had quite a few offering to help this week or in the coming weeks. If you'd be willing to help us, just make such a fun environment for our kids on Sundays, I know that would really just relieve Kim's mind. And we're going to keep you up to date. And our prayer is that the God who heals would heal Lou. And we can get discouraged when sometimes God doesn't heal and we don't understand that. And then we can stop praying. It leads us to this prayer even work. God is creator and healer, and he tells us, he instructs us to pray for healing. And if he has another plan or healing looks different in his mind, well, then we trust that plan and we learn what that plan is. And we are praying that Lou makes a full recovery, and we'll keep you up to date. I love this church. I love you and how you love others so well. So go to our Dulles app if you want to sign up to help with Dulles Kids, or if you want to communicate your need, your desire to help meet a need, let us know. Okay, I have decided to continue with the message as planned today, and I'm going to read. I hope that's okay with you. I'm going to do a lot of reading today in these minutes ahead. I'm about to, when we finish recording this, I'm in the car and headed back to Fairfax Hospital, and and maybe I won't be reading on stage Sunday morning at Light Ridge, but just give me your heart and your ears, because I believe this message is really God's heart for us. We're going to look today at being a community of clear purpose. And listen, I'm not talking about just general purpose. You get up and go to work and we have, our daily routine. And I'm not even talking about generally being virtuous people. I'm talking about being people and being a church community centered around and driven by a clear vision. People without vision inevitably struggle with things like depression or anxiety. And I want to be clear, I'm not saying everyone who struggles with depression or anxiety is visionless. I'm saying it the other way around. If you have no driving vision that you're moving toward, you will inevitably struggle with depressing moments or seasons, maybe with depression and with anxieties. People without vision tend to be confused and lack clarity, really about what their purpose is. They have no real sense of actual purpose. People who lack vision tend to feel aimless at times or often. And by the way, good incomes and high salaries seem to make no difference in how someone feels in their inner self if they're lacking vision. It seems that nothing tangible makes up for how you and I were wired to have a clear, to be about, to be centered around and driven by a clear vision. It's as if God made us, hardwired us to be people who follow a vision. We're going to talk about what vision is here in a minute. Actually, people without vision eventually will default to one of two ways of living. They'll go in one of two directions. Either they will live their life, they decide that life is about making money, and so they pour themselves into earning as much money as they can, or into a company that they don't even particularly feel passionate about. Maybe we believe in the product enough to sell it and make commission on it, but we're not particularly passionate about this product. And yet it's amazing because in the void of clear vision, that just becomes, I guess that's what life's about. I'm going to make as much money as I can and then retire and have as much fun as I can. The other direction, the other void, the other direction that tends to fill the void of no vision is hobbies or living to have fun. And let me just be clear. I believe every single person should have at least one hobby. Right now, I'm finally doing, very slowly, but I'm finally doing a plan that we've had for 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 years, which is to build a screen-in porch. I've wanted to build a bigger project, which I've never really done a room. And so I tore down our deck in the spring, and I've been, in my spare time, which there isn't much of, I've been slowly building a screen-in porch. And it's good for me. It's therapeutic. It helps me be able to dream and just get my mind off of the routine of the day. Another hobby of mine, I'm not a great golfer. I never have been, but I've played golf most of my life. And I've been averaging about 1 round of golf a year, maybe 2. I think 2 or 3 years ago, I played 3 times. And so this winter, going into spring, my dad and I committed to trying to play golf together once a week this whole year, this summer. And we've done a pretty good job of it. We've missed maybe 5 or 6 weeks. And so listen, here's my point. Out of all the times, maybe we've played golf 20 times this year, I haven't played 18 holes one time. And that's normally what you do. You play 18. In fact, when they ring me up, they always ring me up for 18 holes. And I say, oh, no, I meant 9 holes. And they're like, you're going to play 9? Because of the clear vision in my life, I do need hobbies, but I just don't have the time to put extra time into hobbies because my vision requires so much of my focus. By the way, if you default to living really primarily to make money or to advance your career or for hobbies and having fun and retiring and having more fun, you will produce that same mentality in the people around you, particularly parents in their children. Often, our kids will develop the same worldview that life is really about making money, advancing our career, or having as much fun as we can have. And some of you may be thinking right now, well, Brad, what else is there? I hear that all of the time. It's so often people are like, well, okay, so is there another option? And yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. Here's what vision is. Vision is a picture of the future that inspires people in the present. Vision is a picture of what could be or what should be in the future that motivates people, inspires people now in the present. Vision is a different future. It's a picture of some completely different future that we could make our lives be about turning the picture into reality. So Proverbs 29:18, it's kind of funny to me that modern pastors and modern churches today never really use the King James Version Bible. That's the old original 16th century English translation of the Bible, except in the case of Proverbs 29:18. And I actually think the word is translated properly here into English. Proverbs 29:18 says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And what's interesting is the original Hebrew word here for vision means a divinely directed dream or communication. A divinely given or directed dream or communication. And so where there is no vision, where there is no God-given idea of what could be, relationships either fall apart or just become hollow. Dreams die. Motivations, people find themselves struggling with discouragement. And God was telling us long ago, we need to be people. We were designed as people to be centered around and making our lives about a clear vision. People who do not have a God-inspired dream or picture or idea of the future that He wants, that He envisions, those people will end up settling for something far less. Now, in the Old Testament, there's an example in the Old Testament I'm going to spend just a moment on, and then we're going to talk about the New Testament vision for all of us. In the Old Testament, an example of vision was Nehemiah. Nehemiah, who lived far away from his home city of Jerusalem, gets word that after the attack and the occupation, now the city walls have been totally destroyed. And Nehemiah just collapses. He stops eating. He's weeping for days. He's mourning the fall and ruin of his city. I mean, the walls were the last viable part of the city that really defined it as a city. And he just falls into mourning. And the king, who Artaxerxes knows and actually works for, the king actually notices, and you see God at work here. The king says, Nehemiah, your face looks down. Something's wrong. Have you been crying? What's going on? And Nehemiah has this chance to say, this is what's happened to my home city. And I have this picture of, I want to rebuild the walls. And the king says, what can I do to help? What do you need? And it's this obvious God story of Nehemiah being given this amazing opportunity. And so he casts this vision. I want to rebuild the walls and make my city, my home city, strong again as a place that can honor God and be a blessing to all the world. And so Artaxerxes funds this project for Nehemiah to go home. And Nehemiah inspires the people, and they become builders. And they rebuild the walls in 28 days, which is this remarkable architectural feat. In his depression and grief, Nehemiah was given a picture of what could be and what should be. And he could not do anything else but make his life about the reality that could be and should be. Okay, now, for what matters to you and me in the New Testament. In places like the book of Matthew, Matthew ends with the crystal clear purpose of followers of Jesus. The book of Luke is entirely about the purpose of people who follow Jesus. Luke 14 and 15 are my favorite two chapters because they become the pivotal moment where it's revealed what the church, the people who follow Jesus, are to live their lives driven by and centered around as a crystal clear vision. The book of Acts begins with the same clear, consistent idea, which is that the people of Jesus in this world are to be about outsiders. We're to go to those outside the church, outside of faith, and express love and build relationships with and influence toward the reality and love of Jesus. In Matthew and the book of Acts, the words are actually go into all the world and make followers of me. You don't go and preach at people and talk religious nonsense. This is about relationship building. And when you see opportunities to lean in with love to a need or some crisis or just in friendship, we take that opportunity. And when people see something in us that has changed in our attitude, maybe the anger that we struggled with or relationship challenges, something in our inner turmoil that has become peace, where our view of the future is it's not as pessimistic as it was. We now are people who anticipate and have real hope. It's infectious. And the onlooking world and those in our lives and those we built trust with want to know. There's something about us. They're trying to figure out how they can have that peace. How can you have relationships? The laughter in your life. I want that laughter for me. Carrie Jenkins in our church is a dear friend, and many of you know Carrie. And she just told us the story in text the other day that someone that she knows had encountered some people at Dulles, and her friend said, man, what is it about them? Or there's something attractive. It's, I don't know, I'm kind of paraphrasing, whether it's their communication or just something about their personality. And Carrie said, I just told her straight up, it's Jesus in these people. And when we read that to our family, and we just thought, man, this is what life is about. What greater purpose or vision should there be than for the onlooking world and the friends around us and those that we interact with to see something that's changed us, that they want. Now, I'm going to use words here in the next few minutes that may seem critical, like I'm critiquing a group of people. And listen, that's the last thing I really want to do. I do want to call out a problem in the church, in churches, in the American church today. And my intent is not to just point my finger, certainly, or criticize. My hope is to compel everyone toward the way of Jesus. For generations, and this is really getting to the heart of what our purpose is here at Dulles, and what I believe your and my purpose as followers of Jesus should be. For generations, churches have made God inaccessible and irrelevant to society. I'm just going to say it straight up. Churches have become more and more and more irrelevant to everyday life in the everyday world. And I can't stand it. I can't stand watching this happen. It's the greatest tragedy in our world today, because the church was designed by Jesus to be the hope of the world. The church was designed by Jesus to be the safest place for hurting people and people who don't have life figured out. The church is supposed to be the most innovative and creative. We are followers of the Creator. We are made in the image of the Creator, and so the church should be the most creative place in the world. And there are people in churches today who will argue with me. Well, the church isn't supposed to be creative. It's supposed to be a holy place of worship. And listen, I just can't and won't argue with those people. My appeal is to you. Those of you who consider Dulles your home, or maybe you're new here and you're trying to find your way, or you're trying to figure out what your purpose is or what life is all about. Many people who are committed to churches, at least here in this country, many people debate me and push back on me, describing society to me as rebellious against God, or politically liberal, or morally bankrupt, and ultimately will face God's judgment. And I'm going to say this as clearly as I can. I believe that view of society is the opposite, the antithesis of the view of Jesus, of the lens of Jesus towards society, of Jesus' vision. It is the view of self-consumed Christians or self-righteous Christians who are not actually following the example and the heart and the words and the character of Jesus. As an example, I believe this pandemic has exposed so much selfishness in many churches, in much of Christianity, where the driving force of Christianity's faith today isn't actually in what Jesus calls us to, in what Jesus is trying to work in us, in the worldview that Jesus wants us to have. The driving force of much of Christianity today, at least in the West, is fighting for individual personal freedoms. Jesus never calls us to that. Or maybe a way to say this is fighting for their own traditions of worship that feel good over the idea of building relationship with, serving and sacrificing for their neighbors. Jesus said a neighbor is outside your comfortable circle. Jesus said your neighbor who you were to love is actually outside of who makes you comfortable. Just as in the story of the Samaritan. That was his whole point in the story of the Good Samaritan. Christians have grown lazy because it takes time and costs emotional energy to build relationships where you care for someone who doesn't believe what you believe, and regardless if they ever believe what you believe. If we create the culture in the community of the church, where we say, come and belong, even if you don't believe, even if you never believe, I'm telling you, more of those friends will actually end up believing and experiencing what you and I have. Churches, in large part the other day, and not every church, of course, I'm not calling all churches. I'm certainly not trying to elevate our church as somehow being superior to others. I'm just talking about the general church Christian culture in America. Let's say in America today. On the other hand, have become inward, inside focused in relationships, in our language and speech about life or faith or politics. We become inward focused in our compassion, which has created a church that America is simply not interested in and has become skeptical of. And I don't blame America. I don't blame our friends and neighbors and coworkers. Not to mention how the church's view in the world and inward focusedness has actually contributed to the greatest culture war since the Civil War. And when I wrote that, I thought, oh man, that's going to get me a lot of emails. And I'm happy to talk with you and meet with you if you want to know what I mean by the attitude and worldview of American Christianity today has contributed to the greatest culture war since the Civil War. I'm going to move on. Here's our vision. This is the actual vision of Dulles Church. And we're not asking you, hey, can you do this perfectly? None of us can do this perfectly. We're all following the perfect one. When we trip or stumble or lose our way one particular day, he's the one we're following. He's the one who picks us up. He's the one in his grace who teaches us, who makes us stronger. We're just inviting you to come be part of that journey with us. So here's our vision. Our vision is to embody the love of Jesus for the good of our neighbors, meaning the hurting, the searching, the skeptical around us, that we embody. Paul uses the metaphor of a human body to describe the church. He says some are arms and some are elbows and some are eyes and some are ears. We collectively in this world make up the body of Jesus. His heart, his words, his character, his compassion, his laughter. This is what the church is supposed to look like. So we at Dulles want to embody the love of Jesus for the good of our neighbors, those who hurt, those who are skeptical, those who are searching, and for the renewal of all things. Those were Jesus' words. That Jesus' ultimate plan where he's moving this world and he wants to use his church to be the movement toward the ultimate renewal of all things lost, all things broken, all things discouraged, all things hopeless. Jesus is going to ultimately turn into good and beauty, and the result will be the renewal, he said, of all things. Our vision is to speak a language outsiders understand and to make room at our table so that those outside our faith want to engage our faith and pursue the same Jesus that has changed us. Okay, John 17, Jesus is praying. He's praying for his 11 followers, his disciples. Of course, Judas had just betrayed him and had hanged himself. And then he turns the prayer to you and me. He actually prays for followers and believers in the future. And this is what he says: I ask, Father, not only for these disciples, but also for all those who will one day believe in me through their message. I pray for them to all be joined together as one, even as you and I, Father, are joined together as one. I pray for them to become one with us so that the world will recognize that you sent me. Now, the inward-facing, lazy in relationships, and disinterested in trust-building church environment loves the idea of the scripture, of the community and church traditions that this text seems to suggest, that Jesus seems to be praying about, that his followers would be one. But in large part, much of the church today misses the final picture of Jesus' vision that he prayed here, which is so that the world will have evidence and know that he has come to this world to change the human condition, the human soul. Jesus wants the world to see and experience in you and me. He cares about the world knowing. Jesus' focus is that what we've been given would be shared with and given to and would infect the world. So I'm going to give you one of 4 metaphors that I've written here in the last couple of years. And this is the first one. In the coming weeks and months, I'm going to tell all 4 stories. And today I'm going to read this just to keep us on time. But this is something I really believe, similar to how Jesus taught in parables and how many of us communicate life through stories and parables. I believe God inspired this in me to write it down in my journal. And I really see it becoming a picture that we will talk about at least once or twice a year. And so here goes. This is a picture that ultimately relates to you and me. In the darkness of a stormy sea, an all-alone survivor of a shipwreck is being overcome by waves they cannot see in the absolute black of wind and waves. This person is you, and this person is me. The storm shows us just how big our inadequacies and weaknesses are, how strong our selfishness can be, how hopeless our anxieties about the future are, how dark our own identity can be after failure or in our inability to truly love people who are not like us. This violent storm exposes the ugly of our own egos and self-promotion that leave us hollow. The waves of this storm are so relentless, we give in more and more to the idea of no lasting future of good. Then, a strong hand, pulls us up and into the arms of a rescuer. The rescuer risks everything in the darkness to embrace us with purpose and hope and enfolds us in love. Now you're on a beach and he's carrying you and me, through relentless waves onto shore, onto a sandy beach, high up on a sandy beach above the raging surf and away from the shipwreck. You're in shock. You're trying to laugh. Your lungs are filled with fresh air and you begin to scream, wow, and you're laughing. I'm alive. You saved me from my shipwreck. Thank you. You keep screaming in the wind and on this sandy beach. Thank you. Thank you for rescuing me. He whispers that he's always been with you. He always loves you and has a confidence and hopeful future for you, way beyond even your own limited lifetime in this world. And in an instant, he stands to leave. And you grab for his leg. No, wait, you're leaving? Stay with me here. Don't leave me. He calls back to you, actually, I want you to come with me. But the view of the ocean, your ocean is so beautiful. Stay with me here on the beach. He calls to you in the wind beneath the palm trees. Actually, you come with me. I need you. He calls to you. You call back to Jesus. No, I want to sit and talk with you and hear your stories and celebrate that you've rescued me. Jesus turns out toward the darkness of the ocean. What is he looking at? He's gazing at the shipwreck. You squint and peer out into the dark, and then you see it. Then you see them. There's more. There are people in the waves, beyond the waves. Oh man, wow, there are a lot of people. Jesus is already racing into the breakers, but he's calling back through the wind at you and me. I need you. I want your help. But you and I are so excited to sit with our rescuer and learn from him and laugh with him and worship him. So we stay on the beach, reading about him, singing songs out to him from high on that beach, forgetting now exactly what his face looks like, trying to remember what his voice sounded like, wondering now if we really had been shipwrecked or had it been some kind of spiritual dream. But this beach is so beautiful. And now you and I start to think about building a beautiful house right here on the sand. I really believe that this picture, along with 3 other pictures that I'm going to share with you in the weeks and months ahead, are going to be cries to the heart, to the soul, to join us in what we believe Jesus has ultimately called us to, the vision that he's called us to, which is the relationship building, the trust building that leads to and is a part of the movement that renews all things, where Jesus ultimately takes this world back to his intended starting place before we messed it all up in selfishness and worshiping ourselves and our own agendas. Jesus is calling us to be about restoring and renewing what's been lost and broken and hurt. And he's calling us to do that with those outside the church and those outside of our faith. So how do you move forward? How do you move toward the renewal of all things, making room for outsiders, expressing love to those who don't believe? So first, in your everyday life, this is what I'm going to just suggest. This is what I'm going to call you to. Don't think convert. God, no. Please don't think, now I've got to be converting people. That's not what we're about here. Instead, think, build trust. Invest and invite. Think about the ways that Jesus is changing your view, your heart, the way your attitude has become softer. You become less defenseless. And with confidence, walk into rooms and into friendships and conversations and into work, knowing that that is what outsiders are looking for. That's what they're needing. And when they see it more and more in you, and they learn more of your story and more of your struggles and more of your inadequacies and more of the joy in your life and the laughter in your life and the relationships, they're just going to, most are going to ask questions and want to know, what is this in your life? We use this phrase a lot, invest and invite. And I just want to challenge you to think as an investor in people. And when the opportunity arrives, when God gives you the opportunity with a friend, invite them. Invite them to come into our conversation. Invite them to come sit with you on a Sunday morning. Invite them to come have coffee on a Sunday and sit with you and just listen to what has changed your heart, what grabbed your soul, what became contagious and infectious to you in the life and words and beauty of Jesus. Now here at Dulles, that's about you in your everyday life at work and in your neighborhoods. Here at Dulles, this is what I'm going to challenge you toward. We need your help. We need you to support our messaging and the story that we're telling and conversations like what we're starting today. We need your help in supporting our teams and supporting our Sunday gatherings. We're collectively making room for outsiders. That's what Dulles is about. And you don't have to ever stand on stage or speak into a microphone. You don't have to ever lead a group in your living room to be part of making room for outsiders. Luke 14 and 15 are so attractive to me because it's the story of at Jesus' table, when he's at a Pharisee's house, at a table where Pharisees are feasting and they're trying to disprove him as God. He tells them, hey, at my feast, in my kingdom, those who follow me, my feast is about inviting outsiders to the table. And insiders who follow me will give up their seat to make room for outsiders. And insiders giving up their seat doesn't mean we're suddenly out of the flow of what God's doing or we're not a part of the feast anymore. No, you and I become the waitstaff at the feast that Jesus throws for the prodigal son and for those who are hurting and those who are searching and skeptical. We get to host along with Jesus this invitation and this feast of life and rescue. So help us by joining one of our teams. We have a signs team that's been developing here. We need more. We need people with SUVs or trucks to help us. Invite the community. We have a growing Dulles Kids team. We're looking for more who will rotate in once a month. We need people to help us prep coffee on Sunday mornings. There's so many needs. Our cares team. Will you go to our app or download our Dulles Church app? And it's super easy to just fill out a form. It takes 20 seconds to say, hey, I'm interested. Give me some opportunities. Give me some options. What are some ways I can help? Here's my prayer for us today. God, may we stop sitting on the beach waiting for you to keep rescuing us. May we find the completeness and the momentum of our own experience with you as we join you in loving others. That's our prayer today. We're going to continue to pray for Lou. We'll continue to update you on Lou's situation and his progress. And listen, don't forget, next Sunday, we're not at Light Ridge. We're going to be outside at the winery here in Aldie, Virginia. At 50 West Winery, we're going to celebrate communion together. Invite a friend. Don't just hear those words and think, well, other people will invite friends. Who is someone that you could invite to come sit and hear an 8-minute version of my story of Jesus before we take communion and celebrate life at a winery? I love you, Dulles Church, so very much.